Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Different Kind of Doula. We have a special show for you today, and our guest today is Heather MacLeod, and she's a certified trainer and consultant in a positive approach to care for people with dementia. And I first met Heather when I was working toward my certification as an end-of-life doula at the Conscious Dying Institute in Boulder. And it's now known as the Conscious Dying Collective. And I learned so much from you, Heather. And Heather has one of the warmest personalities, and I really mean this. And that's what drew me when she was the assistant teacher in my course. I found her so easy to approach and learn from. So, Heather, why don't you tell our viewers more about how you arrived at where you are today?
Sure. Oh, Colleen, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so grateful to be here and share this with everyone today. Yeah, when I first got into this, I was working at a home with two men with diverse abilities, and it was really interesting because one of my coworkers said, "You know what I want to do when I retire? I want to be a death doula." And I said, "You want to be a what?" And he said, "A death doula." So he told me a little bit about it. And I went home and researched it and fell in love with what I was reading and pulled my credit card out and signed up right away for the program that spoke to me. And upon graduation as a doula, 3 months later, my own father, my first client. And so I worked through the death of my father, supporting my mom, supporting my siblings, and self, because as we know, self-care is so important. And I went on to take the educator program because I really wanted to bring this to my community for people to be able to better support their loved ones, or maybe not their loved ones, at end of life. And then I realized that Dad died with dementia, and I didn't know a whole lot about dementia. So I looked into that. My employer at um, the place that I worked at, where I'd taken my training, I got hired on there, and she suggested I in the conference of positive approach to care with Teepa Snow. And I jumped at the chance to do that. So I took in the weekend course or the weekend conference and fell in love with what I was hearing. So from there, I went into my training as a positive approach to care trainer, fell in love with that, got my certification for that, and teaching my classes. But I thought there's got to be more because there's missing pieces for me. And from there, I thought I have to take the consultant piece. I'm curious about situations that happen. How can we figure out what's going on for people? And I'm non-medical. I don't know medical terminology at all. And so the holistic part for me was what I really needed to learn. How can I support people in language that we can all understand? And blessings to the doctors and nurses who do the work that they do. I can't do what they do, but I can be that person that helps out with some English for those of us that don't have the medical terminology. And so I took both of those programs, and I have my certification in both of them. And I'm so grateful because I've learned so much about supporting not only the person living with dementia, but also their family, their care partners, the nurses, the doctors, and supporting everyone, including myself, to be safe and to be helpful. So that's kind of how I got into it.
It's usually moments like that, like just you felt called at when you hear of something. So it's amazing that you answered the call and are here today. Uh, I would love to know, Heather, what's the most challenging with this positive approach to care work that you do? What's the most challenging thing that you encounter?
Oh, that's a question, Maureen. I think probably the most challenging thing is when we're talking about people support loved ones or people with dementia, I tend to ask them to do one more thing. And sometimes they don't have the capacity to do that one more thing and learn something. But I learned that in challenging situations, if I have tools, if I have hands-on tools, something that I can do, physically do, or mentally do, that's going to keep me safe and the person that I'm working with safe, then there's something there to learn. And so helping people to learn those hands-on tools find that they become very motivated to know more, because this is positive approach to care. It's positively coming to people and approaching appropriately, being invited in, or it's not being invited in, and it's, I'm going to give you that space. So I think it's asking people that one more thing to learn, but it truly is a gift. When we learn that one more thing, we want to know more because it makes life easier and it slows things down for us.
And you said a word that's really important, safety, and making them feel safe. I mean, that's so positive right there.
It is. And quite often, and I've seen this myself in working in an extended care, where you have a resident who has brain changes going on and they're sitting at a table and the nurses have to keep, bless them. They've got their schedule. They need to move this resident to this table. And they start moving them and then say, oh, we're going to move you. Well, until we have a positive approach, that person in the chair may not give us the response that we want. They might have been startled, and through no fault of their own, they reach out and they connect with the nurse. Their hands hit the nurse. Well, the nurse is tired. It could be that, I feel like I'm abused. Now that's feeling bad because they've hit someone. We need everyone to be safe. So in the positive approach, when we come forward, it's being that beat out. And it's saying, hi, Maureen, it's Heather. And I'm going to reach my hand out to you. If you invite me in, I get your attention. And then I can say to you, Maureen, I'm going to move you to this table. Are you ready? You're aware of what's going to happen to you. In the beginning, it takes a bit of time to get that down as the help. But once you got it, it becomes so easy for you. The resident connects with you. They're feeling good. You're feeling good. You're resident. Is it always that easy? No, but it can be. And we keep working forward.
And I heard you say hands-on approach, and when we're talking about hands-on, I was so interested in some of the things you shared with me prior uh, about the physical in the positive approach to care, about the hand and the connection with the brain. I thought that was amazing. Could you share with
Absolutely.
us some of these things? Because I didn't know them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're talking about 5 things here. We're talking about, first of all, we want to get in their visual field. So we want to make sure that we're seeing, that the person is seeing us. We've made eye contact. That's the hello. They see us. We reach our hand out. They reach for us. We say, once we get eye contact, we use verbal direction. Hi, Colleen. It's Heather. So now I've got you seeing me and hearing me. And now you reach out to touch me. We never want to start with the touching first. Ooh, yeah, that's not a good one. That's not the greatest one to start off with. So we start with visual, go to verbal, and then we touch. So then we take hands. So doing it that way, we come in, the person sees us, they hear us, and they've invited us in with their handshake, because that's something that's an automatic movement for them. Automatic. So what do? When someone reaches their hand out, we automatically reach our hand out to shake hands, right? If a person is sleeping, for example, if they're sleeping at the table, we want to get their attention for something. First of all, we have to do the visual. I see Colleen sleeping right now. I might knock on the table. Colleen, it's Heather. There's no response by visual or by verbal. Now I'm going to go in, get down to your level. I'm going to put a flat palm onto your knee, give you a pressure little rub. I see you start to wake, and I back up to the 6-foot mark, and I wait for you to wake. And I go through it again. Hey, Colleen, it's Heather. Then you look at me, you see me, you've heard me. I reach out, and then you reach for my hand. Then I know I can come in. If that happens and you don't reach for me, I'm going to stay the 6 feet out in the public space. And I'm going to have a conversation with you so that you and I can make that connection and talk, and you feel comfortable and I feel comfortable. Then from there, we can go on with whatever activity we're going to do or something like that. So I always wait to get that affirmation first of being invited in. And if I don't get invited in and I see maybe there's some distress with you, I'm going to talk with you and see how you're doing. If there's something uncomfortable, if it's clothing, whatever it might be. So we're going to problem solve that. But yeah, so that's our positive approach, our positive physical approach.
Can I just jump in for a second, Colleen?
Please, Maureen, I expect it.
I always do anyway. I think that that's so important to teach the caregivers, because let's face it, it's a busy day. You have to move them around, and time is of the essence and all of this. And caregivers, myself included, can get so rushed that we forget to take that time, to take those steps to ensure safety and well-being, and how different it can be if we do just all take that approach. So I love it. I just love what you're saying.
Yeah,
Great.
and it keeps all of us safe, right? And it's taking that bit of extra time to know, can I approach or do I stay back? And so with dementia, we know that vision changes so much as well. A 20 something, their peripheral vision, they have great peripheral vision. As we age, our vision starts to come in, and especially if we are on the dementia journey, right? Our vision gets narrower and narrower. Talked with Colleen prior to this call. We talked about the gem states that Teepa Snow has
Yeah,
done
that's one of
such a
my
beautiful
areas.
job on.
That's one of my areas of interest, because I'm trying to figure out how does that, because we talked about the visual and then you went into the gem states. I was fascinated. So I want to hear
Right.
it.
Oh, and it is so beautiful. The different scales that they have out there right now, they have scales that go from 1 being your typical person to 7 being at the end of a dementia journey. And then there's another scale that starts at 6 where you and I might be, and then at the end of the dementia journey, you're at 1. So that gets a little confusing. And then, well, would you rather be a number 1 or would you rather be a number 7? And what I love about the gem states is it talks about all of the people on all of us, not just people on the dementia journey, but all of us being a gem. And so we start off as a sapphire and we're true blue. We have a healthy brain, normal aging, flexible, adaptable, thing really well. The next stage of brain changes can be the diamond stage. And how are diamonds created? Under pressure, right? So when somebody cuts us off in traffic, oh my gosh, we can go into a diamond state instantly, right? So diamonds are clear and sharp, many facets. A lot of, I have a friend who was a pharmacist and was on the dementia journey, and he liked things a certain way. And even going through dementia, our lives are by habit and routine. We really like familiar things and we don't like change. No, we've done it this way. We've always done it this way. We're not changing. So that is your diamond state. Emerald is on the go with purpose. They're flawed, but they like their independence. They seek out independence or correction. Sometimes they repeat themselves. They also miss a few details here and there. Then we get into a beautiful gem that's amber. And we know that amber is the very unique one that starts off as a liquid and hardens firm. And so they're caught in a moment of time. They're more curious than they are cautious. They're focused more on their sensory needs, where they're touching things or maybe it's uncomfortable for them. And all of those heightened senses are there. They live in a moment, and they copy actions, not necessarily tasks. And then we get into ruby, and ruby is a strong red. They retain strength, but not skill. So things like eating would be a challenge for them, right? They have big, strong actions rather than those fine motor skills. And they have rhythm. They have rhythm. It's beautiful. But again, they also notice your tone of voice. So they're typically very slowed. Then if you imagine the final stage of the gems is the pearl state. Think about how beautiful that pearl is and how that pearl is created. A tiny little bit of sand, and it's beautiful all around it. But there's that shell, that hard, crusty shell on the outside. And that's what happens to the body, is it all pulls in and is that hard outer shell. But in all of those gem states, we can support them where they are to make them shine to be the most unique and precious gem possible, because they're still in there. And Tiffany sang to me like there's nothing else. So with each of those gem states, yeah, we were talking about this vision changes. And when we think about vision, we're looking at sapphire. Our peripheral vision might be here. Diamond, it's coming in to scuba diver vision. So if you come up to someone who doesn't see you right here, and all of a sudden you're smiling at them going, hello, we might be startling them. And that's when our positive approach comes in from 6 feet away. Into the emerald stage of vision, we now have binocular vision. So our vision is really limited. It's sitting down on a chair, extremely difficult. And we won't see the mats or the rugs that are underneath us. From there, we go into the amber, where objects are changing. We might be looking everywhere for our glasses or the cell phone, or we could look at it 10 times and not recognize that that's what it is. We might pick up a hairbrush to brush our teeth. Well, it's got those things on it and it's got that long thing. And so that must be what so that vision has changed. Ruby down to monocular. That's how our vision is in the ruby state. And finally with the pearl, very limited regard. But when we know these things, how we can change the world to be better, not only for ourselves, but for the person living with dementia, to be able to have the world where they see it, where it's easier for them to understand. We're the ones who can change, not them. We have to go to their world. They can no longer come to ours. And that's okay, because with all of this training and the classes that I and many of the trainers and the coaches and the consultants have out there, allow people to learn the other ways to support people.
You know, it's almost as you were going through these spaces, looking at people as gems is a very positive approach. Okay. Um, and you also talked about their strengths within their limitations.
Absolutely, because they do still have those strengths. Even though we lose language on the left as we go down the dementia journey, we still retain rhythm on the right. There are still opportunities to connect with people and to sing their favorite songs and dance with them, to read poetry. Those are all things that are on the right side of the brain that are retained. And I will caution you, so are those really bad forbidden words. So if you hear a loved one who has some pretty colorful language, when they can't seem to remember a lovely conversation or something like that, my goodness, that's where those words are stored. And it's not because they're trying to use those words, it's what they have left. And so when we don't respond to those kinds of things, if we acknowledge, let it go, and move on to support them with dancing or music or poetry or just sitting, talking with someone, that general chit chat that they feel comfortable with. It's something that's a rhythm for them. It's such a positive way for them to enjoy life.
I love that. How, Heather, how do you integrate end of life work with your end of life doula role? How do you integrate this all together?
Oh, I love it, Maureen. Thank you so much for asking. This has been my work in people with dementia. How do we best support them at end of life? And how do doulas support people living with dementia? Our ultimate goal, absolutely, or my ultimate goal would be to have that conversation with the person who finally gets the diagnosis, well, or maybe even before, I'm noticing some brain changes and I think I better make some plans. That's where we want to get in. And we want to start doing those end of life planning sessions with the family and with the person who is living with dementia. If we as doulas come down to a situation where a family has called us and their loved one is quite far down, say an amber, ruby, even into a pearl state, then what we do as doulas is we rely on the family members to really fill in those missing pieces from their loved one. Or like I say, maybe it's not a loved one, but we want the person's end of life or their death to be the best possible way it can be. And so when we learn these skills to be able to approach the person living with dementia, we can come into the room, be present with them, connect with that person, knowing some trainings of how to be with people living with dementia. And we know the skills on how to support those who are not living with dementia. So together, I, as a dementia doula, can talk about the things that I know about the dementia journey and how that can fit into an end of life planning with the family in order to come up with the most beautiful supportive plan that goes over and above a will and an advance directive. And that plan can be altered as time goes on, because we know that sometimes moment to moment life changes, things change. So we want to do a plan that's updated, that is through all the SMART goals, just absolutely being on point for the person who is on the dementia journey, supported by those who are around that particular person. And so it's a communal effort, if you will. So the doula who is an end-of-life doula, a death doula, and also a dementia trained doula, or if you're not, there are all kinds of dementia doulas that are trained, or trainers and coaches, consultants through Positive Approach to Care. And they do have a directory there. Find one that's close to your area. Find someone who knows something about dementia. Invite them in, talk to the family, say, listen, we need to invite someone in who is trained in this area. So let's bring them in to make this a more complete end of life planning. So that's what my goal is in order to support everyone, and including myself, because personal care is important too. Mm-hmm. And like Teepa says, until there's a cure, there's a care.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that. Do you do, there is a dementia advanced directive. It's not really official, through, I think, Gaston at the University of Washington created this. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, that one I haven't heard of, but now I'm going to look it up because you mentioned it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, but I think it's Dr. Barack Gaster created this, and it's so people can go through at what stage, what they would want, what care they would want. And it's very approachable, but I think it's so important to address that well before we have dementia. And even if we don't have dementia in our family, it's not going to guarantee we're not going to have some sort of cognitive impairment or dysfunction at some time in our lives. I don't know if dysfunction is the right word, but some sort of dementia journey.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Because as we get older, parts of our memory don't work as they used to, right? And our vision changes. And yeah, there's so many changes that can take place. And I just think that the more information that we have, the more support we have, the better that can be. Is that saying that every end of life is going to be beautiful and fluffy and oh heavens no. But we can strive towards something that is comfortable for the person going through the end of life journey and the people who are caring for them. So I absolutely agree with you.
And I think just having conversation before it's ever an issue, that opens the door for people to really continue the conversation going during the illness and the dementia journey.
It sure does. It sure does. And keeping that conversation going, even though it's challenging, the ultimate goal is to be aware, to be aware and to be present. Yeah.
You know, this is all has been about, and it just reminds me of there's a card that the Alzheimer's Association puts out about seeing the individual with dignity and as a person and as a human. They have all these precepts or kind of listed descriptions. And, you know, what I find is people really don't understand. You don't have to get medical at all, but they just don't understand that it's not that the person's still in there as a human, but their brain doesn't work anymore. The brain is going and gone. And to get people to understand that sometimes is really hard.
It is. It is. There are the four truths of dementia.
Yeah.
Two part two parts of the brain are dying.
Mm-hmm.
It's progressive. It's progressive and changing. There is no cure, and it's terminal. You know, those are the four truths about dementia. And it doesn't get easier as we go along, but we can know more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up for people, family and loved ones. If they hear that more often, they'll understand maybe that whole journey. It is a
Right.
journey and a map of the journey, you know. The gems are kind of the
It's
map of the journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And with the Alzheimer's Association and Positive Approach to Care and all of these organizations that offer dementia support, if we can all come together and work together to support families, it's just such a beautiful offering because we all have something to give. We all have support to offer. And I think it's absolutely wonderful, all those supports.
Oh, well, here's
Yeah.
my line. We're out of time.
I know, Heather, I would love to, if you would
Oh,
tell people how to reach you, or how, if they want to sign up for the positive approach to care, how would they go about doing that to learn about the positive approach to care?
absolutely. Well, you are more than welcome to go for me to check out my webpage. I am Every Moment Matters and everymomentmatters.ca. You can reach me just Heather at everymomentmatters.ca. That's my email address. And then if you would like to get more information on Teepa Snow and the Positive Approach to Care and their team, which I hope you will, you can get them at teepasnow.com. And I know they would welcome all the inquiries.
Well, this is amazing. We are going to put this information on our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group, Challenging Conversations, and we do give out information about our shows on the website or on the Facebook group. So we hope that whoever's watching goes out and visits that page. If there's something you'd like to hear about, make sure you send us a note through the Facebook group and we will find that information for you and get someone on that's knowledgeable and speaking like Heather speaking about the positive approach to care. So thank you so much, Heather. We've enjoyed having you. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Colleen and Kathleen and I are all part of the Gentle Passage Doula Collective, and we offer monthly death cafes on the second Friday of every month at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. We offer doula training courses in person and virtual. We'll be doing our next virtual training course after the beginning of 2024. And we also offer webinars to help doulas just continue to enhance their knowledge base. So you can find all of our information at gentlepassagedoulacollective.com. And we hope you'll join us for something in the near future. So Thank you so much for joining us on A Different Kind of Doula, and we look forward to seeing you in the next week or on another show. Bye-bye.